Good morning. My name is Martin Wong. I'm the host of the breakfast show Trading Ideas with SMARTRobie. As we get on to the easing of lockdown, definitely the COVID cases continue to holding above 20,000 cases in here. If you look at what's the development that we've seen in US as well as UK, no doubt UK, the cases are dropping. Maybe this is due to the immunization. But the cases in US continue to make new high. As such, I do not think that the Malaysian cases will eventually come down. I think more importantly is looking at hospitalization and number of deaths. So the number of deaths continue to be high. That means the easing of lockdown is only for certain phase. Now, why is this important? Because we're going to be talking about how long likelihood the lockdown and also the easing of the economic activity, especially restaurant business, travel business in here. But on the announcement by the Prime Minister, we have seen some stock has certainly moved up. Check out some of those other sectors has already turned green Pentagon, mainly the transportation, right, plantation, and that's really part and parcel of why you should use Pentagon Guider for our sector analysis in there. All right, so make sure you use it in there, but if not, you can always check out the hot sectors. Let's move on to what we have for you this morning in our breakfast show, and definitely we are on Wednesday, which is the 11th of August, and a refresh look at the new breakfast show format, looking today for intermediate. Now, if you're intermediate level, you're looking to riding on a trend as a friend, right? And that is looking at the trending stock. Now, let's have what we have for you in this morning news roundup. That's right. In our news roundup, as I said before early on, the stock market is getting a temporary boost. And this morning, let's check it out. And you could see just on top of me here, just scrolling right at the bottom, we are finally, for the first time, crossing above 1506. That's right, 1506. That means the 14. Let's go down to here and then we talk. Okay, so let's bring this up, switching to a wider chart here, and you could see. So from here onwards, you could see the downtrend. Let me just pull this up a bit. So you can see the downtrend is still holding up above this level in here, the 1495 in here. The 1500 will be the temporary resistance in here, but no doubt you still have the gray line that you see. That is another overhead resistance, that is something trending down. So all in all, this could be good, but we yet to see. Definitely a green Pentagon will come very soon. Okay, but we probably have to be a few more days, or maybe next week, then we'll see the green Pentagon. All right, so having said that, the article stock market getting a temporary boost, this is due to the return to normalcy, restaurant business, hospitality, tourism, aviation, and shopping mall. I can't wait to go to my shopping mall, and I hope all of you also very eager to go to your local shopping mall like me too. All right, let's move on to our next story here. Now, next story is on the foreign selling. Another bad news for our KLCI, definitely, right? So if you look at the in the span of things here, things are certainly not looking good. And why is that? Because from this report itself, foreign fund extend to the 7 week, but selling less lah. So normally when they sell less, then they'll start to buy, and then that's why we have this morning the market backs up to 1505 in here. So the news talks about the 7 straight week of consecutive selling, but at a slower pace. Last week was 580 million. This week is 450 million in here. If they continue to sell out, then the question is who is buying. And according to this same report, the local institutional are buying, and more than the retailer. So what is left is just the local fellas are holding up the fort in here. So upside is not going to be much. They will be there to support it, but to push upwards, we definitely need a lot more support from the foreign funds in here. So for the time being, things still looks to move sideways from here. So take note of this trend that we are seeing. Now let's move on to another counter in here. We're talking about DNEX. They back a system maintenance contract from MOF off to a value of 81 million. Now take note, the Dagang Net has always been in the maintenance contract IT system in here, very similar to High-Tech Babu, but just recently they move on to silicon wafer production, and that seems to be spinning off from something that I felt that they may not be familiar, but that yet to take up in here. But having said that, let's look at DNEX, switching to a wider chart here. All right, you can see from the DNEX, let me just use the mouse here, will be easier. And let's look at the chart wise. So chart wise, you could see this is a very nice green pentagon, a very beautiful setup. We have a nice dipping, a double bottom followed by line change, and that is really the classic pattern that we've seen so far. Let's take a look at this morning in here for DNEX on the stock price, okay? And the live stock price here, that simply tells me it is 3.1% up, right? Continue to ride from this stocks inside here. So this is going to be pretty good in here. Now that looks like it's going to retest back the old high that we've seen way back on the left hand side here. Let me just pinch it up a bit here. That will be around the 80 or 90 cents. So this pullback, it's pretty decent. Gives it a lot of time to heal and about time for it to take up too. All right, so let's look at another story that we have for you in here. Will be USMA. Now USMA, being an oil and gas player, are benefiting from some of the expansion project or capex spending by Petronas in here. So in this news, they talk about the likelihood that the contract that they won, 29 million from Petronas Cari Gari, to deploy well reactivation and product enhancement in offshore Sabah. But if so, this is just a $29 million project, but we all know going forward with the what we call climate change and a lot of this news, especially in the US side, getting a lot of the climate change initiative is getting the big oil player, to pay for some of the climate change disaster and management in there. So that's going to be interesting to see if they can impose this, because they knew about the climate change going back to the 1970s. Now, if you look at USMA, all right, let's look at the chart wise in here, and you could see chart wise not that great, right? Has been going down for some time since red pentagon around 65 cents to 55 cents, and maybe we'll see a bit rebound this morning. Will we see some rebound? I think so. Let's take a look at the live stock prices. So you can see from the live stock prices, it is up 2.6%. So the trend down is this. Does this indicate a likelihood here? So you probably need to wait for the green pentagon. And having said that, I think green pentagon so far has guided us the last couple of months pretty well in here, and once the trend is there, a lot of things just seems to work much better. Now let's turn our attention to the US side. Now last night we have the Dow Jones closing a new high and really benefiting from the 1 trillion infrastructure bill that was passed bipartisan, both from the Democrats and Republican too. You got the 19 Republicans who supported this, and the Dow Jones has closed a new high in here, but the S&P 500 has also pushed up new high, and Nasdaq seems to be easing off. This is due to the 2% rise to the 10-year yield interest rate going up back to 1.3% in here. So that is why whenever interest rate goes up, you will see tech stocks easing off in here, but this does mean Dow Jones will continue to hit new high, and Dow Jones is around 35,000 in here. Let's take a look at on the smart S&P 500 and on Robie chat here, and looking at S&P 500 last night, it is up and still up to 4 points to 143 1435. So another 14 points, so we hit 1450 in here. Of course, some of the big active players will be AMD, which has gone hit 106% all-time high, almost 20%. Pfizer continue to do well because of the FDA approving Pfizer for general use, means it's safe to use, so they were going to likelihood endorse the mandate vaccine for certain institutional and government related to US in here. Apple eased off from $145, and this is due to the new iPhone 13. And usually when we see good news, Apple stock generally tend to ease off in here, and it's more like a little bit of what we're going to talk about next. Okay, and let's move on to our next news is Apple. That's right, I went ahead and talked about the Apple news. So Apple is planning for a new camera updates in here, and things are looking exciting, but not too sure whether people would likely to change to a new Apple. What do you say? Would you change to a new iPhone, right? But many of our audience in here tend to be the older consumer in here. Some of that might actually hold back to the older phones in here. But let's look at the chart. Having said that, and what we can do is simply just go over to the Apple item number 3. Let's click on to Apple item number 3 here. Okay, switching to a wider chart. All right, and you hit on to this one, and you can see stock chart, stock comment, and this is very, very obvious. You can see here, right? We have the market hitting. You got double bottom in there, swinging up. All right, it's going to swing back up and retest back the 145. My take is distributing on good news or reaccumulation. What do you think on Apple, the stocks in here? There are a lot of projection for Apple to go $160, $180 depending on which analyst they're looking at, but we want to see evidence of reaccumulation in here, right? If not, it could be a distribution in here. We got another 4 or 5 more months to go to the year end, then we have the Christmas sales, and that seems to be, but do take note, in the month of September and October are seemingly the most bearish month that you see on the US market. And remember the Black October when the market crashed, right? And that seemed to be homing. Of course, if the market do go down, all the news will be talking about it. But here in the Trade VSA breakfast show, let me give you a heads warning sign first. All right, that is the tall tale sign that we see for Apple. Okay, now let's move on to Causeway and to the Singapore market. And on the Singapore market, let's look at what is Singapore market doing this morning here, and the STI. So far this morning, the STI is up 16 points. Very, very positive. Very, very positive. You can see 16 points up here. And having said that, Singapore, right, came out on the very good news, switching to a wider chart here, and this is due to the one of the best vaccination nation in the whole world, with almost I believe more than 70% has been vaccinated. So they are easing off some of the restriction that they have, allowing more dining in here. So you can see right now they are even projecting a higher growth, 6 to 7% on GDP, and that's what you see on this chart. It's starting to go up, really a tall tale sign when you compare to Malaysia. Now that also means the Singapore stock exchange here is likely to move higher to play catch up to the US market. Malaysia will come soon, but Malaysia have to wait. After counting the COVID-19, we still got the parliament too. So those are really two big challenges and big hurdle that we need to overcome before the market can go higher. Meanwhile, we still, those of you especially in the local market, will still need to wait. But the technology stock sectors later on, when we got on to those, has started to move up. And that's really what we are seeing right now, the kind of resistance that we're seeing and the kind of comparison on the lower and overall market that we're seeing. But tonight I will talk about at 9:30 p.m. So join me at the live FB. I will talk about the China and Hong Kong market. And I want to introduce this very exciting market to our members and also to the public in here. Now let's look at our next story that we have for you here. It's no other than the Singapore side, which we talked about just now in here. Now one of the stocks that doing pretty well is V03. And let's take a look at that V03, which is very much in the semiconductors, taking a cue also from Inari, Penta, UWC, Great Tech, DNO, all this manufacturing, and Vitrox, they are KESM, they are all moving. So V03 is again very, very similar to, all right, hit that one, and you can see that one has moved up a fair bit. So look at stock chart, stock comment here. And you can see this one is just started to move up. Later when I show you some of the local technology semiconductor equipment maker, they have already moved ahead in here. All right, let's move on to our next news here. And now next we're going to be talking about some of the past leaderboard, the more recent one from the May, June, and you could see we did pick some winner in here, THS, FHI, Hector, Penta on the 14th, and the more recent one would be the August one, which we're going to talk about in here. But MI Technovation, which we talk about it on the 7th of July, has gone up 23% in here. Very nice one in here. So some of the lesson learned that we talked about it last week, there are two ideas that we talk about here. It's a Great Tech and UWC. Okay, and let's bring up Great Tech and UWC here. So you can see Great Tech, and that was we mentioned that sometime. Let me just make this a bit smaller so you can see that. Okay, that was on the 7th of August. So 7 will be somewhere around 4th of August. Okay, 4th of August, and usually about 11 o'clock. So we're going to just pitch it here and pull it up to somewhere around here. And you can see we are about 7%. Okay, that's a nice one here for UWC. Sorry, for Great Tech. UWC has sort of hit the old resistance high here. It's pulling back. You can see low volume in here. I think that's pretty all right. So it's pretty much unchanged this morning. Gap down minus 0.67% in here. Let's look at Inari. Inari from the 28th of July, which is somewhere around here, and you can see, of course, 28th of July, there are some talk by some analysts that this one can go to $4.07, but normally I take it with a pinch of salt lah, and that's what we are seeing this also. That's what Inari is certainly moving. That's about 8%. Okay, so Inari today has started to break up to 30. So everybody start talking about Inari lah, and it's going to go 470. Hoo-ha, and you know, slam in. You can see the earnings in here. That's usually how the market works. So it's a nice momentum trend in here. Continue to ride it in here, right? But just take note of the climatic change, and we don't want some of these tech stock to have the same fate like what we did with the rubber glove way back on last year, August, September, when everybody want to get into the rubber glove, and rubber glove has lost almost 2/3 of its value and market capitalization, and some of you I have still stuck it in there, right? And I hope that you have sort of cut out from again, going back to how much portfolio you have cut out from your portfolio in the rubber glove and started to move back into some moving technology stocks inside here. So the rotational, it's very important, and it's really been part and parcel of what we want to share with you in this manner in here. Let's take a look at the next one is which we talked about earlier on the 7th of July is JHM. So JHM 7th of July, it's somewhere around here. You can see this was the trending stock. So let's pick it somewhere around here, and you just blow it up to here, and you can see that's about 20% movement. I think that's going to be another leg move out from here. That's another 20% move. Let's look at MI Technovation, and that was a nice breakaway gap because due to the earnings up 5% in here. Again, looking on the 7th of July, which is here, and you pull it up to somewhere around here, and that is about a 24% gain from what we're talking here. Continue to run your profit. We haven't seen, that's a lot of upthrust. Remember, watch your ATR stop loss, watch for all those sign of weakness that you see inside here, and adjust your trading plan if you have one. If not, learn to create one in here. All right, let's move on to our trade idea that we're going to be talking about is definitely Uchitec. Okay, Uchitec, and just look at last week. One of the plan that we talk about here, just to show you, and this was the so-called the breaking of the 685. Remember, we talked about this 685 when the market did had a chance for it to move higher in here, and right now I think it's almost how much is it now? Okay, let's take a look at the market, and on this stock, switching back to the KLCI and switching back to the Great Tech. Okay, switch over to Great Tech here, and we hit that one, so you can see Great Tech. Okay, so Great Tech, let's look at stock price. 685 was last week when we talked about it. Now it's 17, so it's up about 30 cents. Okay, so this morning it's up another 1% in here. So good one in here as we see the tech stocks, and also as long as iPhone is still up there and is making headwinds, this market will jalan man. Okay, so let's look at the for this week. Okay, this week we're going to do another plan. As we talk about, this is the intermediate level. Okay, intermediate level here. So definitely I'm going to bring up the chart, this one here, and we're going to switch over to Uchitec. Okay, so this is the, okay, let me just cram it a bit here. Yes, that's a nice one here. So this is the Uchitec. Let me just stretch this a bit. Right, and okay, so we're going to be doing this. Okay, and this is the plan. Okay, this is the plan. So what I'm going to do is turn on my pen here, and we'll be doing this trading plan. So more like an example. Okay, like example how professional people would do it in here. All right, let's take a look at the first one. So first one is what we talk about, plan A here. So this is the what do you think about the weekly direction? The weekly direction has started to move up. Okay, so that's a nice one, move up in here. So we have that one move up. So what we're going to do is just going to type on this one here. Okay, and we can see the weekly Uchitec is up, and green Pentagon triggered. What date was it triggered? And if you move your mouse here, it is somewhere around 23rd of July. Okay, triggered 23rd of July. Okay, the last day high here. So we're gonna make we're gonna draw our points, so make it easier. So we're just gonna draw our points here. This will be number 2. Okay, and last month high, this will be number 3. Okay, it corresponds to this here, right? It corresponds to this number 2, this number 1. Okay, be careful. When do you be careful? If you fall below the gray line is going to be this arrow here. All right, and also don't forget, we can also turn on our trend. So this is the gray line, okay, which is number 4. Okay, so this corresponds to this number 4 here. Okay, and contingency plan. Okay, let's take a look at the contingency plan. Okay, turn it back again. Contingency plan, what happens if the market were to break through number 4? Okay, so what we do is number 5, if break 4, okay, we do something. Okay, we do what? Do something. Okay, I leave it up to you. All right, this is part and parcel of what we need to learn. Okay, if we break below the 4, what do you want to do? All right, I leave it up to you in here. So let's take a snapshot of this, and we're gonna be, oops, I need that one. So let's take a look at this in here, and so what we're gonna do, so we're gonna paste it, open it up. Okay, there you go. So we know okay, this is the original one. So what I do, I'll just exit this and I'll paste this at the back as appendix. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Number 1, the weekly direction is up, and let me just show you what I mean here. So okay, so this plan here, weekly direction is up, so we do 1 here. Okay, and number 2 is the 5-day high will be here. Okay, 5-day high and the breakout of the ATR support bar. Last 6-month high would be another level that you want to do something to. Right. Number 4, be careful if the market fall back below the trend line, which we draw here, or what we call the moving average in here. Number 5, if we break through this gray line in here, again, another action is required. And if you do all this, I think your portfolio should be able to maintain a very decent kind of return. So this is something that we will come back next week, and we will save this too, and we will look back next week, see what kind of things that it does. Then we look back to it in here. All right, and those of you who want to, you can take a snapshot of this one in here, right, and then create yourself. The whole point is that what we want to do is to do what we call deep practice, something we've learned from Dr. Gary Dayton, another Wyckoff expert from the US side, which was with us for a talk, and I hope that many of you have joined us since then here. All right, let's go on to our next segment in here. Okay, and also the next stock is Insas. Let's take a look at Insas. Now Insas is the parent of Inari, so it's actually benefiting from all this Inari movement in here. They're one of the biggest major shareholders in Insas in here, and they do pay dividend, and you can see the market breaking up. It's going to retest back the $1 in there. All right, so it's just a sort of a catch-up trend from the parent company in here. Okay, let's move on to next here. All right, and looking back, our portfolio still short of the 10% compared to the KLCI, which is 7% in here. We are still up, not significantly, and so far we have stayed out of the any trades. We don't have any trades. This is due to the current KLCI continue to be in a downtrend. We just need to wait for that uptrend to come back up, and then we will get into some trades in here. That is one of the highlight of the fixed rules kind of trading in here, and something that we teach in here. When there's a trade, you do it. When there's no trade, you don't do it. So we don't fall into our own emotion. Right? Remember, if you don't have any system out there, your emotion could be the worst system that it can be, because you are reacting to every market. So right now, let's take a look at the sectors that we talk about in here, since we're talking about hot sectors. And let's take a look at the hot sectors in here. And you can see technology continued to be the number one big gainer here. So what you want to do, you can hit onto the technology and just check out all the portfolio in here. I would say that most of them are turning green. Only the smaller caps hasn't turned yet. Some of these are not purely on the technology side. Grand Flow here, NCT, okay, and Omesti, which is 0056. They did change their name so far, okay, and okay, so we're going to go down to the next section, all right, and where we're going to be talking about our sign of strength and sign of weakness. Now in the sign of strength, sign of weakness in here, always check out what they mean. So go over to this tutorial if you have not, especially those of you who are first time, and find out more information about how you can benefit by understanding some of this very simple indicator here that we have so far. All right, and of course this Friday, that's right, this Friday is going to be our big event. Many of you who are masterclass member do come back and re-attend this, but for those of you who are sort of deciding yes or no, I can tell you this round in this September and October, the market's likely going to dip, especially in the US market. As I said before, we are looking at proven way to trade the US and the KLSE market. So when knowing this knowledge, when you finish this, by the time next week, same time Wednesday, you have this new insight, this new so-called force that was going to help you and really get into the market and ride the continued 4-month trend that we have. Definitely the investment and the time that you put in will overcome a lot of the effort that you're going to put in. I can pretty much guarantee you, I will be with you, my coaches will be with you, and we are looking at many ways, including we're still going to talk about the Bitcoin. Now take note, Bitcoin has started to come back in here. We're going to give you also an update on this masterclass, our 3-day workshop. If you have not registered, we still have a few more seats in here. Do contact the number below or on the right hand side. All right, so let's look at the next talk that we have. Is definitely tonight. We'll be talking about China and Hong Kong market due to the recent crackdown and regulatory. So join me tonight 9:30 and let's look at the market and do what we call a bit of bottom fishing tonight, okay? And something that I will touch on the Chinese Hong Kong market in here. All right, so let's move on to the stock pick. Now, if you have not given us any comment in here, do go over to Google Play Store and Apple Play Store. We really appreciate that, all the feedback that you get, and we will continue to update and upgrade our services to you in here. Of course, if you want me to look at a couple of stocks in here, appreciate, just let me know if you're masterclass members or if you are from the public. Just let me know your profession in here, right? So we'll start off with usually we get a lot of our masterclass member in here. Just type in MC members and comma your stocks that you want me to review. But having said that, the tech stocks are doing fine. I can tell you that tech and certain industrial stocks are doing fine, but the rest of it, I tell you, banks are not doing that well. Some of the penny stocks are, okay? So let me know and we'll type it in there, okay? And I'll be happy to look at some of the stocks that you want me to showcase. So there you go, Maybach still struggling in here, couldn't go any higher. Looks like this morning we don't have pretty much of the usual stock review. I suppose after all, you are getting very good analytics and very good analysis from SMARTRobie in here. Okay, so okay, we have here QES, that's right. QES was one of the earlier picks. Now QES, like it or not, hits a double bottom in here. Just a slight pullback. Volumes are pretty low. I think that's pretty all right. You got the old high here, so that's the one they have to fight for a while before it can crack its head in here. I think this one should be fine. JF Tech still good, right? Not going as fast. JF Tech is started to do rocket ship already, okay? So this one is fine lah. Like I think we talked about the submarine and rocket trade from the last Saturday. So you'll learn some. We're definitely going to talk more about this weekend in here. Okay. We got Mayfen, MNRB. This is an insurance company in here. Yeah, it started to go up. You see, go up, come back down. Probably pick it up a bit here and start to go up. MNRB again benefiting from the opening of the re-economy in here. DNEX looks pretty good. Okay, thank you Michelle for your support for our plug-in members here. DNEX, yeah, started to pick up in here since the green pentagon in here. It will have some resistance in here, and right here not, DNEX is just one of those company that really rely on news. It will push up and you have some sort of news. There's no underlying. Okay, we got the SLS. SLS has paused. I think it started to pull back up again, and this is the same notion. Now SLL, it's very similar to the Canadian Solar. You can see, right? Some of these, they are not going up. There will be a pullback, but once it started to push up again, taking a cue from all the American side in here, you can see SLL started to move up. Canadian Solar and SLS, these are the trend that you want to pick up. I do think that it would not retest back the old 122, but take note of the support that you have inside here. Okay, SLS, in my opinion, this one in here, you got volumes are lightening off, so it's just going to gradually move back sideways in here. DNEX can enter or not. Okay, DNEX. Now I'll leave it up to you what you want to do with it. Again, follow back the trading rules that we have. Okay, follow back the trading rules, set up your plan, and then do whatever you want to do. Follow the trading plans inside there. Right, and then if it work out, what did you learn from it? If it didn't work out, what did you learn from it? All right, that's the best way to learn. Okay, if not, just paper trade it. Yes, I enter at this price, blah blah blah. Okay, and just paper trade it. I put it in the Excel spreadsheet. But I can tell you, when you paper trade, generally you do pretty well because you don't have the emotion in here. I think a lot of time when we are trading, the emotion need to be set up right. The expectation on the emotion is there. So when you are trading real, sometimes you take it too seriously, and if the trade don't work out, you don't cut loss, and this cycle continue to haunt many our traders. And that's why a lot of people, they can make money with the right tools, but the emotion is part. So that's what the whole masterclass is really focused, both on the psychology, the tools, the market, and the information about the smart money and so forth. So we really have a very good thing. So guys, I want to see you all this Friday in here. Those of you come, let's take a look at Amulet. So Amulet pull back, not yet. We still need to wait for one more green bar here, all right? Because usually when you have this big push up 13% in here and you got climatic volume, market will distribute. So this one's likely going to move sideways for the time being. Okay, ARRB. Okay, ARRB not yet. You can see it tried to push up here, right? And again, you need to check out what kind of industry. So fastest way, just click here, go over to symbol index, technology services. So it's a IT services. Okay, so IT services, this is really going to be flat out. There's no shakeout, there's no double top, there is no price action at the bottom to it. If I do see some of those, that's good. If not, this thing is just going to move sideways and likely. Remember, IT is not the semiconductors. All right, IT is not the semiconductors are doing, because there's a lot of very nice news coming out. The IT is just sort of going to be possible move sideways in here, unless the overall market hang up. But this one you might have to wait a bit more. So all right, Simon, take note of it. All right, do follow the technology sectors in here, the semiconductors. I think I wish I talk about in one of those Saturday in here. Okay, I think we done pretty well this morning in here with the support that you have. Okay, there is Mr. Uy here. Should we do, Mr. Uy, you're retired. Should we do bottom fishing now for Malaysian Bank? Let's take a look for the Malaysian Bank, right? Still not yet reached bottom yet, lah. Right, Mr. Uy. So it's good that you asked this question. So please learn the trade of the double bottom or whatever the case is, waiting for climatic volume, all those which I shared with you last week. If you think what we shared with you last Saturday, was it last Saturday? Yeah, last Saturday was good. Think about what you can benefit from our masterclass, which we'll do this Wednesday. And then you don't need to ask me in that question, and probably you will know what to do. All right, Mr. Uy in here. Take note, being a retiree, you have a lot of time. Join us in our master class. All right, bottom fishing in here, right? I generally sold all my banks today. I used to have some banks, but I think this banks is not going anywhere. At one point in time, as I said before, if you compare the banks in Singapore and the banks in US, you can see Malaysia is nowhere to be found, right? On that logic. So kind of see where I'm seeing from the sector rotation in there. No doubt you have is your knowledge at this level. You're not able to respond to the market is, and that's what we get in life. So invest the time and invest into the knowledge, and you will see a great change in your portfolio in there. So like me, I've got return on my public bank already. It is no doubt remain to be dividend shares, but again, go back to your required rate of return. And if you are retired, you do not like to take more risk, then definitely dividend is what you're looking for. But I don't think the bottom is there yet. It's very close to it, but maybe not yet. Let's take a look at this 394. It's not going to go that much. It's gravitating between $4.20 to $4. So it's like a 5% move, about a 5% move, the kind of thing in here. All right. All right, so we're gonna close our breakfast show for this morning in here, and don't forget, continue to subscribe to our YouTube and able to see all our archive and our material in here. And if you're first time, do share this Telegram chat room for all our notification, trading, education ideas, education material, education tips that will help you to be a better trader. And when you're ready, join us this Friday for our masterclass, and that's a QR code. So thank you for coming in here, and I do hope that your time spent with us for the last 1 hour is well spent, and you have gained some knowledge and also get updated on the overall market comparing to the US market, Singapore market, and not forgetting learning some trade setup that will help you to do, for some of you, bottom fishing right now. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you tonight at 9:30 for Hong Kong and China Opportunity Talk. Bye-bye.